Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the SOULKATION podcast. I'm your host, Logan Renee. I'm super excited because I have podcaster, leader, author, notebook lover, and a woman who helps creatives and entrepreneurs pursue their passion through positive mindsets and productivity tips. Nache Snow, welcome to the SOULKATION podcast.
Hello, people.
You all, she has the most vibrant spirit, so kind, so sweet. You just feel like you know her when you meet her, even though you don't. But you feel like, you're like, okay, she cool. I don't get that vibe with a lot of people. How about you, Nache? Do you just meet people and you like, she's cool? Like, I could just...
Yeah. I mean, it's a rarity, but there is some people that you meet and you're just like, oh my God, this is my kindred spirit, love her. And then you just connect with those people. And when you do, you hold on to those folks.
For sure. So can you take us to the Nache before podcasting? Your website is so cute, by the way. I was like stalking you a little bit. I was like, it's cute. I see you. So can you tell us who you were before podcasting, influencing? There's degrees on your wall. So before you got the degrees, like...
Yeah, I mean, before I got the degrees, I was just a crafty little girl. I think I fell in love with design and the arts because of my mom. Because I remember as a kid, we would just always make stuff, all these little special projects. I mean, we even do it with my nieces now. So I feel like that's when my love for crafting and making things and designing first started to develop in elementary school. And I remember in high school, I really hated school, but I loved my art class, Right. And so it's funny, initially, I really didn't want to go to college because when I tell you I did not like school, but my mom was like, no, you're going to school. And I'm like, fine. But I knew, okay, if I'm going to school, I want to do something with design or arts. And that's why I ended up majoring in mass communication with a concentration in design,
Wow.
And then from there, that's just how my love for that whole world design and making started.
Wow. Nice. So were you always entrepreneur or did you go corporate then entrepreneur? How did that flow for you?
What's interesting, I feel like I would not consider myself, how some people are like, oh, I had a lemonade stand when I was 5. No. I was like the person that was just always a hard worker. So in high school, I remember working for those of you guys in the Chicagoland area, I worked at Ford City Mall and I was at the Arby's. It was me and my friend making roast beef sandwiches at the register, burning them curly fries. Okay. But I always had a steady job. I always paid for my own things. I hated asking others for money. I really, even in high school, or excuse me, in college, every once in a while I had to ask my mom for help, but even through high school, I keep saying high school, but even through college, I worked at a gas station for the majority of my years. So never really an entrepreneur. I was usually always somebody working for others. I mean, if I wasn't working at the gas station in college, I was working at the Taco Bell. I don't know. So maybe this is how I became a foodie too. I mean, not that you associate Arby's and Taco Bell with foodies, but there was 2 camps. There was people who worked at fast food restaurants, and then there was the other people who worked at the mall at, the H&M type of stores, whatever they were back in the day. And I was always in food. And then I worked for the Park District as a Chicago Park District one summer. And I did a lot of summer internships, but I was always just one of those hardworking people. It's like, okay, I need money. I want nice things. What I have to do, I just have to work hard for it. And I feel like at an early age, my mom taught me that. She was like, well, if you want it, you need to buy it. And she taught me how to balance a checkbook and how to, that it was important to have a checking account. And and so I don't think I really, really got into entrepreneurship until I got a full-time job. And I just I was craving like something creative on the outside. And that's when I started my first blog. And then I started getting free clothes from, you know, some tall vendors or clothing stores. And I was like, oh, you can get stuff from blogging. This is pretty cool. Let me do more of this. And then that's how kind of that love for entrepreneurship began.
Yeah. So are you a full-time employer now and a full-time entrepreneur, or a full-time entrepreneur?
So I work a full-time 9-to-5 job. I have for 17 years. Okay. So yes, people, I'm old. And I spend my nights and weekends like working on my passion.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I call that the fringe hours. So, you know, I work really long days and I give my 9-to-5 100%. I don't do anything entrepreneur related during the day unless I'm off. And when I'm off work, you know, I have those fringe hours, which I consider about 7 to 10 o'clock. And so I figure I have 7 to 10 o'clock every night on a weekday. And then also, you know, I have the weekend. And so I just look at those hours and I figure out like, okay, what do I want to do and how can I accomplish what I want to accomplish within that time?
Definitely. And it's a lot of people that listen to the podcast. They're full-time entrepreneurs and full-time employers. And it can be draining and tiring. So what is your go-to to like remind you, or your pick-me-up, or girl, get your lifeness? Like, what do you use as your go-to when there's no energy?
Yeah, I mean, and that happens too, right? Because I feel like as women, number one, our hormone levels through the month go up and down. And then certain times of the year, you're sick because it's cold outside. You know, like I'm in the DC area now. We just had like a little snowstorm and everybody has the flu, or people have pneumonia. And so my husband actually is on antibiotics now, right? And I got like a little bit of his cold, but it's like, okay, even if you have a cold, you still have to deliver. And it's like, how do you find that energy? And for me, I make sure that one, I'm getting enough sleep, because I found at one period of my life when I had like multiple jobs, like I had like a full-time job, like I was working for somebody else part-time, and I was doing like entrepreneurial stuff. I was getting 4 hours of sleep a night. So several years ago, I know that's terrible. Several years ago, a friend of mine got me like a Fitbit, and that's how I realized I was doing the 4 hours a night. And I was like, this is not good. This is just going to put me in the early grave. So what I started doing was like making sure that I started to get 7 to 8 hours a night. So instead of working to 12, 1, or 2 in the morning on my projects, I started giving myself a cap of 10 o'clock. Like at 10 o'clock, Nache, you need to go to sleep because you have to wake up at 5:30 to go to work, right? And so I think one, that helps with my energy. And then two, it's forgiving yourself when you come home and you're tired and you know you should be editing a podcast or working on that project that you were like, okay, people, I'm going to get out. And you're just like, I'm tired. So I just tell myself, like, figure out another day, you know, to do it, because you're going to be no good. It's going to take you twice as long to do it because you're tired and you're not feeling good. Yeah. And then I feel like people go through other times where you just feel like you're doing all this stuff, right? And no one's seeing it. You know, we've all been there. It's like, why am I doing this? Like, especially when you have a full-time job, you're like, wait a minute, I got a full-time job. Why am I putting myself through this?
Yes.
But
for me, health insurance.
Exactly. Right. But for me, I'm like, I remind myself of the purpose. Like what I'm doing now, I'm like, I look back at some of the comments that people have made or emails that people have sent me, and I'm like, it is making an impact. Just keep going. Might not seem like no one's listening, but they are. And then that just kind of gets me back into it. So that was kind of long-winded, but yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. It's super necessary. So when you first started out, what was your first step? The first thing you did?
So in every, and people, I'm like a serial entrepreneur and I'm multi-passionate. It's kind of it's a problem. But with every project, what I really figure out is, what's my purpose? What do I intend to put out there in the world? And what will my content look like? So for my latest project, which was my personal brand, I knew I wanted a podcast. I knew I wanted to interview creative entrepreneurs and inspire women. I knew I wanted to give women resources to figure out how to get started, because people would ask me like, well, what equipment did you use on your podcast? What website should I use? Should I use Squarespace? Should I use WordPress? Should I use, Shopify? And when do I use which one? And so I was like, okay, I want this platform where I can not only share the different resources that make sense for people, but I also want to make sure it's inspirational and interview, amazing women like you, so people can be like, okay, you know what? I can do this. They're like me, because I think sometimes people see like these superstars being interviewed, be it Oprah to Martha to Kim Kardashian to whoever it might be, or these mega influencers with like 100,000, followers on Instagram, and they're like, can I really do this? And I'm like, yeah, you can, because I'm going to interview that person that has 500 followers that's making over 6 figures a year. And then you're going to hear her story and you're going to be like, okay, I can do this,
So this does not mean money.
Exactly. And so my first step, I say, if you have an idea, is to figure out what you want to accomplish. What products do you want to put out? Like sometimes I forget about that because I'm just so passionate about what I want to do. But if you actually want to make revenue, and eventually you have to figure out like, well, what are you selling? What would people want to buy from you? Is it a product? Is it a service? What is it? And then what kind of content can you put out? So when you do put out that product, people are like, ooh, this is the person I want to go to.
Yeah. Please talk about your journal, because it's adorbs.
Yes. Let's see, do I have a little copy right here? Am I ill prepared? Maybe. I think so. But it's so I created the journal. It was interesting. I was because I believe in like investing in yourself every year. So I paid for a coach about a year and a half ago or so. And it was actually to help me create a course. And in talking to her, she was like, Nache, it really sounds like you want to do a book. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Because basically I wanted people to figure out, what questions to ask themselves and what exercises they needed to do to figure out what their passion is and to get to where they want to be. And so, I feel like throughout my life, if it was getting out of like $40,000+ in debt, if it was succeeding at my 9-to-5, if it was making money through entrepreneurship, or if it was just discovering my passion and finding cool things to work on to keep me inspired, like all those questions that I needed to ask myself to figure out how to get there, yeah. I put that in this book. And I have like a finance category and like a little passion like section, and and I have exercises for people to do. And it is hefty. It's like 170 pages of you.
Hey, that's the best kind right there.
But I feel like if people take the time to do it, maybe one day I'll do a course. But what I started with a journal because when I'm discovering myself, what I do is I write down what I want to do and answers to the questions first.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank God for Evernote and Workflowy and your journal, because it just gets it out of your head.
Yeah.
Like you'll keep going back and forth with it if it just stays there instead of actually seeing it.
Right. Yeah. And then, and with the journal too, I even have this section where I list all the creative activities you could possibly do. And what I encourage people to do in the book is highlight the ones that interest them, just so people can see a pattern. Because sometimes people don't even know where to start. They're like at this 9-to-5 job, they feel stuck. they're like, well, what do I do? I don't know what product or service I want to sell because I don't even know what I like to do. So sometimes people just need to step back and figure out, what am I actually passionate about? So there's a section in the journal that helps you with that too.
I love that. So are you going to share a link with the audience so we can get that journal on the list?
Yes. If you go to nachesnow.com/journal, that's just NACHE. I always tell people Nache is like spelled nacho, but instead of an O, it's an E. And my last name is easy, snow.com/journal. You can buy it right from the site. It's also available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But I always tell people when they buy it from me, that's where I include like a little personal note, and, and it's packaged really pretty.
Gotta have a cute package, people.
I mean, I'm just saying, and a little bookmark. I mean, come on, people.
What would you say to the woman who she's just afraid to get out there? She's comfortable with getting the check every 2 weeks, every week from her employer, and she has all these creative ideas. So what would you tell her?
Yeah, I mean, I think people have to ask themselves, do they want to spend their free time working on that idea? Because essentially that's what it is, right? Like, there are some people who are like, I have an idea, they quit their job and go. Now me, I'm kind of a safety kind of gal. Like, unless I'm rolling in the dough from this side hustle, I'm going to be right at my 9 to 5. But I think if somebody is already at their 9 to 5 and they're already working hard at their 9 to 5 to get raises and to be seen, that takes a lot of energy out of you. So my thing is, that person needs to ask themselves, am I passionate enough about whatever I want to do that I'm going to spend all of my free time working on it? And am I okay with that? Am I excited enough about whatever this idea is that I'm willing to give that time up, And so it's like, if that answer is yes, then go for it. There's no excuse. There's no waiting until the time is right, because time is never right.
Never.
The time is now. If it's like, you're going to do it, do it. Whenever I come up with ideas, I'm like, I know I want to do it. Sometimes I've come up with stuff in a weekend that's made me thousands of dollars, right? And so it's like, you just got to do it. There's nothing else I could tell them except to take action, if that's what they want to do. Yeah,
definitely. I agree. So there are a lot of solopreneurs out here in the world, especially if you're spending time with your coworkers. So 9 times out of 10, when you're leaving work, you're coming home, pounding it out, and you're by yourself. So for the people who have been entrepreneurs like us for a while and, doing well, but not exceptional, and they're still solopreneurs, what would you suggest they do as far as building a team or having somebody come in and work with them? What would you suggest they start doing as far as getting people to come help them?
Yeah. I mean, one is networking, because what I found is when you go out into your community with like-minded people, they will let you know who the best VAs are, who are the people who can help you get things manufactured. When you try to do events around the area, who you should partner with. Like, you need to have a community, so then you know when to get those and how to get those resources. Of course, there's other ways too. Like, some people use various entrepreneurial Facebook groups to find other people. Some people use Upwork. But from talking to folks, I feel like the best way is really that community, because then you're going to get professionals, like a good VA that has been vetted by other creative entrepreneurs, like just like you. Yeah. And then I think too, it's like, if you decide to get some help, you need to know exactly how you're going to do it and use that person, because I've known people who get VAs and they're like, yeah, I don't know what I want them to do. And I'm like, that
was me, everyone. That was me. Okay.
So my advice for that is like, for example, like with the podcast is an easy one, right? You can get someone to, like I've had in the past, like someone help me edit, my podcast, like just the content and help create like the blog posts. If you have certain processes, like a good trick is to videotape your processes. And then when you get a VA, you send them that videotape and have them replicate what you do, like put things in Dropbox or, whatever your process is. So videotaping whatever that is just a good way to share that information. But in essence, you just need to have a plan for working with whoever you choose to hire, so they don't come in just like, okay, well, what do you need me to do? And then at that point, you're just wasting money instead of hiring someone who's going to help you generate revenue.
Yeah. And I've learned to like speak, because I used to go back and change stuff after I would send stuff to my podcast editor, instead of just telling him, hey, I don't like the way you do this or whatever. Can you move this here? I'll just go in and do it. I'm like, I'm paying him to redo what I'm doing.
Exactly right.
Like, this don't make no sense. Trying to be nice. Hey, I need you to take that T and that R and put it over here. And you know what I'm saying? It's a growing process for sure.
Yeah.
It grows you up.
Right. And so I feel like, right. And so if you're paying for it, you need to make sure you're getting the bang for your buck. And if you're not, then it's just like, do you really need that person, or does something within that relationship need to change, or, how you're working with them?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So what is one business slip up, or I would say slip up, because I don't think they're ever mistakes, but it's taught you like a huge lesson?
Oh, well, I've got one, and it's as far as products. So the website is still live. So for a while, I was making laser cut light switch plates at creativeroute.com. And because I'm a maker, I love selling products. I love mailing things to people. I mean, it was great. It was making money. It was awesome. I used to go to this space called the Tech Shop, and they had like these state-of-the-art laser cutters, and I would go there after work, and I would cut my little light switch plates out. I mean, it was crazy pants. And I loved it until they went bankrupt. And I had no place to make my laser cut light switch plates anymore. And I didn't have $10,000 to just, let me just invest in a $10,000 machine and put it in my home. And so, so my business for that business is at a standstill. Like I have to figure out now, do I want to continue it? Do I work with somebody else to produce these light switch plates, even though I really loved making them myself. There's things out there like the Glow Forge, but it's not going to give me, I don't think, the quality that I was receiving from having this like $20,000 laser, access to this $20,000 laser. And so to me, the lesson learned with that is always have a backup plan. Because who would have thought, like so many businesses across the US and California, I think they had something in New York, they had a station in DC. Everybody loved it. They had state-of-the-art equipment. You would think that they were doing well. And one day you get an email saying like, hey, X day is going to be the last day the tech shop is open. And it's like, what? So that hurt like a lot of small businesses who depended on that software. So my thing is like, I should have had a backup plan for that because that revenue that I was generating from that now is just, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
having a
backup plan, people.
So there might be entrepreneurs who are afraid to charge for their services, for their skill set. They may not even know what to charge. What is your usual suggestions for people pricing their products? Since you love products, let's do products. Knowing what to charge for a product.
So it gets tricky because I started out as graphic designer. I did web design. And I would say out of all my businesses, for example, my most lucrative business was web design, because with web, that's one website is thousands of dollars, right? You do, if I did like 5 websites in a year, I was like, woo, I'm rolling it down. But, but with that, I think at first it's kind of scary to charge what you're worth. And then people that know you are like, oh, well, just give me like a little hookup. Or people who just might not value whatever you're putting out there will be like, well, why is it this much? And so my thing is like, don't listen to those people. Look at the market and actually figure out like what is the price point, like a medium price point for whatever that product is or service. And then figure out where your skill level is, right? Because
teach the children, teach them.
Because what I would have charged for a web design 15 years ago is not what I would charge now, right? So let's say, and I'm just going to throw out some random figures, but let's say, 15 years ago, if I charged $1,000 to do somebody's website, after X amount of experience, now I probably would charge, let's say, $5,000 or $10,000, right? Which somebody else might be like, whoa, like that's crazy. But it's like, no, there's a market for it. And if people value your experience and they know what you're going to bring, and if they think that your expertise will help generate revenue for them, then it's worth the investment because you get what you pay for, right? And so my thing is like, figure out, where your skill set is and just go with that number and find that audience that will pay for it. So for example, my light switch plates, there were these little wooden light switch plates. And God, I can't remember the exact price, but they went for like $25 each. So some people might have been like, ooh, oh my goodness. But it's like, no, if I sell them wholesale, I'm selling them for half that price, so like $12.50, that's all I'm making from it. And so, and then I have to pay for materials, and then I have to pay for my time because I've got to go to the laser shop. I had to pay for the tech shop membership. I had to sand them. So when it was all said and done, I was making money, but not a ton, because when you factor in all of those things, like you need to make sure you're charging enough to make back all of that, and if you don't, you're working for free. And then it's like, what's the point? And so my target audience for be it web design or for the light switch plates was for certain people who value that type of work that I was doing, and they were willing to pay for it. It was interesting. Somebody posted something on Instagram, and I'm going to butcher it, but it says something like, when you're paying for my services, you're not paying for how quick I'm doing it. Like if I could do something in 30 minutes, you're paying for the 10, 20 years it took me to be able to do it within 30 minutes, right? You're paying for that skill set. And I think that's what people need to remember.
That's so good. And that's so true. So what do you truly admire about yourself and the woman that you've become?
Ooh.
Let's switch gears.
I would say that I feel like I am more confident now. Before I never was one necessarily to care what people think, but I did care, right? And that might have shaped like when I was younger, some of my decisions, or made me think like, oh, should I do this? But now I just don't care, right? It's like, I'm like,
that's freedom.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I spend my money the way I want to spend it. I want a new iPhone, I buy a new iPhone. I want to go on a trip, I just go on a new trip. I want a new car, I buy a new car. Like I want to, start a new business, and people think I'm crazy because they're like, Nache, but you already have all the things. And it's like, well, I think I want to start this business too, right? It's, I've just learned that if I really want to do something or want to go somewhere or whatever, I I want, that I should do it. It doesn't really matter what other people think. So I think I've become like one with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. It seems like self-love that's coming out of you, and it just flows into everything that you do.
Thank you.
I can see that. Is there any tips, tricks, hacks that you want to share with the audience that you usually share on your podcast? Let's talk about your podcast first.
Oh, for sure. So it's the Studio 78 podcast, and everybody's like, what's the studio? Well, I'm a maker. So I feel like you guys are in the studio with me, right?
Yes.
And basically I interview entrepreneurial women who have full-time jobs, and people who have quit their full-time jobs and they're working, their side hustle now full-time. I interviewed someone, and she actually quit her job last year. After I interviewed her, she was doing it as a side hustle, and now she's doing amazing things as like this full-time entrepreneur, right?
Wow.
And but I for my podcast, basically I just want to give people like the step-by-step instructions on how to like achieve their dreams. So I'm just asking people like, well, how'd you do it? How'd you get more followers? How'd you get more sales? Like, did you decide to do your website yourself or not? And what are some of your lessons learned? So it's like really just practical tips for creating like a business of your dreams.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. So as far as like managing the money that you get outside of your 9 to 5, how have you done well with managing the money you get in your businesses?
I think so. Could I do better? Like one thing that I told my one thing I want to do this year is get like a CPA and a lawyer. So with my personal finances, I use Quicken. I'm debt free. I have no debt except my house, like my mortgage. I pay my credit card every month. I feel like once you experience that freedom, you like never want to go back.
Yeah.
And so I make sure that my business doesn't put me in any debt at all, and that regardless of what I'm doing, it can at the very least pay for itself. And then anything after that is cake. And so I've been at different, depending on what the business is, sometimes I've had businesses where I'm barely kind of above that mark, right? And so maybe I could buy some new software and things like that. Other businesses I've had, I could pay for trips and save money and put it in my savings account. But regardless, I keep, Quicken records of all of my different expenses. And then I also use Google Sheets too, so I can have a running tab on like recurring expenses. So for example, like every quarter I try to look at what I'm paying for and to see if it makes sense. So one thing that I might kill is Teachables, because I've been paying for Teachable for like the last year, and I've done one course, a free course, and I'm like, if I don't do a paid course in this first quarter, I don't really need it. I should just go to like Skillshare or something that's absolutely free to do my courses versus paying $30 a month. It's a waste of money at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I look at all that stuff. Like I pay for example, CoSchedule. And I like CoSchedule because CoSchedule is just like, I'm always on social media. Don't matter if I'm at work. It still look like I'm active because CoSchedule just sending things out. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. That's the best money I could buy. Like, it's like my little virtual assistant.
Yeah, that's true.
But I look at all of the monthly expenses. I look at other things. Like last year, I bought myself a new camera, Canon 60D, so I could do more videos and pictures, even though I use my iPhone a lot too. And so, but I look at all of that, and then what I try to make sure is that I can pay myself back. So last year, for example, I was in the red a little bit because I had a book launch. I paid for a photographer. I paid for a videographer. Then I had personal photos done. And so when I look at it, my business did not make as much money as I spent last year. And so this year I'm like, okay, I need to turn that on its head and really focus on revenue. So I'm in the green this year.
Amen. Me too.
Yeah.
This. You said that was Google what? Google Sheets? Google what?
Google Sheets and Google Docs. So it's kind of like that whole Google Drive suite.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I live. I can't. So, okay. So many nuggets, guys. Number one, you have to have an idea and figure out what you want to accomplish. Ask yourself if what you're passionate about, if you're going to spend your free time actually doing this thing. Make sure you're clear if you're going to spend all your free time doing it. Networking will help you build a community full of resources. Make sure that you send your VA the process of everything that you do. And the best way is to record yourself doing it. Always have a backup plan for the part of your business, even for every part of your business, even if it's going well. So make sure you have a backup plan. And then lastly, your business should pay for its at a minimum, pay for itself. Okay.
At the minimum.
As a minimum. That is so good. It's the small things that makes your business everything. And I think we for sure just step back and think about that. Like, I'm in business to be a business. And I'm not an entrepreneur because it sounds cute. Like, where the coins at, honey? Where are coins? And, you know, it is about impact. It is about influence. It is about taking people to the next level just because they listen to one of your episodes. But if you're sitting there having the same exact numbers you had in year one, there is a problem. So
there is a problem.
I've learned from you to actually look at what I'm doing every year versus, oh, let me try this year. So that's really good.
Right. Because you definitely want to see that growth. Because like I feel like Nache Snow is .com is still in its infancy, excuse me. But I'm just like, okay, I need to see that my numbers are growing every year, because if they're not, either I need to change it up or this model isn't working. So now I feel like, and know people too, when you first start out, they say sometimes it takes a couple of years to really earn like some money from whatever you're doing. So I'm not saying you need to be rolling in the dough that first year. If you just make $500 that first year, like sometimes it's like from affiliate marketing, you like, yes, exactly. But that next year should be maybe $1,500. Yeah. And then the year after that, it could jump to $6,000. And then, you know, and then it just continues to grow. Some people grow faster, some people grow slower. But I say at the minimum, if you're at least covering your expenses, then at least it's not a loss for you personally, you know? And then I feel like once you start making some money, or if you have some ideas on like whatever you're going to do and it's going to cost you some money, that's when it's really good to have a CPA too. So you can talk to somebody about the numbers before you really start investing more money in your business.
That's true.
You know?
Because knowing them numbers is key.
You got to.
Working on the numbers piece, Lord.
It's tricky. Hey, and you guys, I am not perfect by any means. And I feel like sometimes when you're a 9-to-5 person, you get comfortable because you're like, well, I've got it. I'll just cover this expense. It's fine. I've been guilty of that too, you know, because you're like, I'm making money. I can do this. Yeah. And then, but you almost have to like separate it as if you don't have the money from your 9-to-5. And then you have to see if this kind of like baby business can like bloom on its own, if that makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. Lord. Okay. So that was a lot. I'm going to ask you some rapid soul questions. The first thing that comes to your mind, just spit it out. Okay. Name a person that you think is really funny.
Shoot. Really funny. God, I'm so bad at rapid questions. I think, who do I think is funny? I have like for some reason, I can only think of a personal friend. This guy I know who's like hilarious. If I need like a pick me up, I can give him a call and he is like hilarious, but I can't think of any actor or anything. I'm sorry. I suck. That wasn't rapid.
Perfect. If that's your friend that you think is really funny.
Hilarious.
Okay.
Yes.
Special shout out to the friend.
I know.
What would we do without them? Literally, I don't know what life would be without friends.
You know, and that's another thing I would tell people is like, it's all about your circle. Like over the years, I've cut anybody who is bringing me down, you know, because I'm just like, especially at this point in my life, I just don't have time for negativity.
At all.
So, yeah.
I'm looking for time currently. So I definitely can't have negative people taking up that time. Like,
exactly. So, yes, that's my funny person. They're not very creative, but yes.
I love it. So what's the last song you listened to?
Ooh, it was a Leon Bridges song. And what was the name of it? 504 Girl. Yes.
504 Girl.
But I love Leon Bridges. I'm like an old soul.
I love it. What dessert can't you live without?
Ooh, Twizzlers.
Really?
Love Twizzlers. When I go to the movies, everybody knows it's my candy. One of my managers actually for Valentine's Day gave me a big bag of Twizzlers. Most people think it tastes like cardboard. I love it.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. What trait do you like most about yourself?
Ooh, that I feel like I'm a happy person. Even when things get bad, you know, I can figure out a way to pull myself up because I'm like just grateful to be alive and appreciative of what I have. And I think people realize that. Like I try to bring other people up too. So I just think just being like a positive, happy person.
I love it. If you could go to dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Ooh, anyone? I would say if I could choose anybody, it would be, this is going to be like old school, like 90s, Tyra Banks.
Yes.
People be living on Tyra.
Yes, Nache. When I say Tyra know how to get a coin, she knows how to reinvent. She knows how to start over, stop, and start again. Okay?
Oh my goodness. Do you remember? I mean, I remember her as a supermodel in the 90s. Then she had like her talk show. And then she just had so many things. Like she is about making money. She is a businesswoman to a core. All those other supermodels faded into the distance. You never heard from them again. Not Tyra.
No.
Still out here doing it.
Ty.
Yeah. I would love to have. So Tyra, if you're watching this video,
yes,
tell me.
Tell us. I love it. That's so true. And that's the first time her name was named. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. She's in my top.
Yes, Ty. What book do you believe everyone should read?
Ooh, can I name two?
Definitely.
Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. Loved it. I just think her story is good because she just it's just about change, like how sometimes you just need to look at where your life is and make some changes. And then there's another book called Work Party. It's like all one word, and it's by her name is escaping me. God, her name is escaping me. But that is an amazing business book. She really breaks down like things that she learned from her first business, from kind of getting screwed over from her partner to like building out like her new business. And I read both of those books via audiobook, and they were absolutely amazing. I was trying to find her name. Oh, Jacqueline Johnson, who's the tip of my tongue. But yeah, that was a great book.
Okay. Yes, I love it. Lastly, what are you looking to do next? How can we support you as a community? Share with us.
So So my New Year's resolution for my business is to get more speaking engagements. And so I'm really excited. I have like a few things coming up. Like I can't announce it yet until it's official and I've submitted my stuff, but I'm going to be part of like a virtual summit in April. So it's like, okay. And so I really want to be part of more summits and panels when it comes to like empowering women and giving them the resources they have. So if your folks out there know something that you think I'd be, effective in, let me know. I'm in the DC area, but I do things virtually. Just let me know. And so that's my first thing. And second thing is just really pushing the journal. And then also creating resources for people. So for example, I just sent out my email list, some printables that they could use for their journal. So,
Nice.
So yes, you'll see more products. So if you're a journaler and you're looking to get organize your business or life, just joining my email list and supporting me would be great.
Yeah. We're going to share all those links, guys. Thank you so much, Nache Snow, for coming on the SOULKATION podcast. It's been wonderful. It's funny because I was like, what should I ask her? But I'm listening and I'm going back. I'm like, I'm on an interview, child. You need to ask the questions. But I'm like listening like, yeah, girl, like we on the phone. Like, no, this is an interview. So thank you so much, seriously.
No, I'm honored to be on your podcast. This is great. Thank you so much for having me and let me talk your listeners' ear off. Okay, y'all, I can like talk. I'm an extreme extrovert, as you guys can tell.
Oh, geez.
It's like, where the party? No. But I appreciate it. And hopefully your audience finds that this has been helpful. And if they ever have any questions, they could definitely reach out.
Thank you so much. All right. Make sure you all share this episode with all of your friends. Make sure you subscribe to the SOULKATION podcast, and I will see you all very soon. Have a good one.